rate of fire to push through the box, and well done, Benji. We talked about the contestant over there, and he says, 0 out of 10 for the effort. The Russian judge doesn't even give him a point. Benji taking it down there, and that's 2 elims right off of the start for him there. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the 2 most contested areas are Rig and Salty Springs, each with 5+ players right now, so a lot of space being pushed out, and it's interesting to see 5 players in Salty. I mean, effectively, you're all taking one house of loot and saying, I hope this is enough.
Yeah, I don't know why 5 players are there. I think it has to do something with Rezon. He scared everybody away from Hali, Hedges, anybody that normally landed in that path. He said, no, I'm just going to go try my chance at Salty there. As we are now over to the Fortia, this is Mongrel, and he's been dropping here for a while. We know that. But he does not have Ocean's Burst AR and Ocean's Bottomless Chug Jug. Someone else may have snagged it from him, and with his aim and with I think Burst AR is so good here from him. But look, some tags going into this fight. That player going to have to back out. Mongrel, though, not going to let him do it. He's got to be careful. He is running out of AR ammo, but he says, you know what? Who needs an AR? I got a shotgun and a crash pad. I'm going into the box. He is going to miss the jump a little bit, almost deploying a crash pad there, but the continued pressure that he's keeping up is trying to keep this player from going any higher, and it's Smudge just trying to get away. He's got a little sliver of HP, but Mongrel going to get in the box and do that Mongrel classic and get the elimination.
And he had to resolve that fight right away, because even picking that up with the additional match drop now only has 52 materials. And while he is in the zone, since it did pull towards that south side, he's going to need to find it. And with so many other players around this area, it's going to be really hard to max out quickly. But now let's hop on board with our match number 1 winner. As you can see, the format in the right-hand side, each elimination being worth a point. You can see once you get into that top 10, you'll have 8 placement points going through, all the way up to 14 for first. Then you can see 11th through 15th is 7, 16th through 20th is 6. It's the intervals of 5, then the intervals of 10, and of course, you get that first placement point after the first 25 players have gone down. So still plenty of players who need to drop here, which generally is a little slower from EU. You'll typically see a little more aggression going on. However, as you get further and further on into tournaments, the stakes and the players become that much more difficult to fight against, and it's really hard to confidently take an early fight, as we have Rax and the Costa Rican Sebi in a battle over here.
Ooh, and Rax on the back foot already. Now, this is that weather station just above Caddy. Sebi going in. The shots are going to go through. He's going to get the initial damage, and he's going to follow up with the AR, the crouch spam, and it's going to pay off for him. The elimination comes through, but now the question posed for Sebi is, can he go get Pit's loot? Can he go get the shockwave launcher and that charged shotgun, or will he settle for some of the vault loot?
And generally, that's the goal. It's to go through, get whatever you can from the weather station, resolve a fight there, and then head down and hopefully pick up the remnants of whatever happened at Caddy Corner. But now we're going to swing on over to Authority, where we have Letwick. We're in match number 1. He was able to steal away that mythic glider grapple gun and just kind of rotate out. But now, match number 2, you can see Hardfind over on the side, and Hardfind looking to set up a trap and a bait, and we've seen this before a number of times, particularly around that vault area where there are some areas you can't build. Players look to have just an immediate drop, but Letwick is set up really well in terms of his close quarters combat, just having that epic SMG as well as the tactical shotgun and a legendary pistol means he has 3 really high rate of fire weapons that give him plenty of abilities to just spam and pressure Hardfind, who's going to be looking for an ambush here in a second. But right now, both players just farming up.
And it seems like they're respecting each other's areas of this Authority. They kind of know, hey, he's going to be over here. I can tell by how he's looted. I know Letwick's going to be in this side because I know how he looted from Hardfind's perspective. But what's concerning about this is the players that are around. Carrot is there as well. You got 2 other players on the side. But Letwick is playing this very well. He's hitting some things, and then he's standing still. Because that's how the henchmen act. If they walk around, sometimes they'll hit stuff that's in their way, and then they'll stand still as you see one moving there. On the other side, we've got Wolfies, who's in a fight against some Marauders. Hopefully he's able to get out of those. The Marauders are very, very potent. They shoot you, they throw stakes at you, and they just will try to eliminate you at all costs. And they've got very, very good aim, especially with that hunting rifle there in the inventory of the Deadeye Marauder. Wolfies is pretty low, but he's got Ardent pretty low as well, 150 HP. Now the Marauders are coming in here to third party this fight. Sometimes the third party does not always have to be an actual player. It can be the AI. This is really good for Wolfies. He's allowing the Marauders to go after this player and go after him for him and get the initial damage. But if he goes in, he's got to be careful. He can't look to go in right away with all these Marauders around. If he doesn't do any damage to him, they're going to be very, very, very hard to build through and walk through. As you see, the builds are going to get broken. This is bad for Wolfies. He needs to get rid of the Marauders. The shots are coming in, down to 11 HP. He's only got 2 builds remaining. Launchpad placed. He can't build anymore. Got a player right there in front of him. Sniper shot going to come out, and it does. But he goes down to a Marauder.
Vato getting picked off there, but the Marauders catching Wolfies out. No builds, no natural cover nearby. Ardit soaking most of the aggression. Him opting to go down. Ardit will clean up all of that. So good heads-up plays by Wolfies to pick up the snipe, but the Marauders ultimately enacting their revenge there. And it can be so difficult when you get caught out by them, particularly in the open. The builds that will target those and will try and take them out. You're definitely when you're around some of the more natural cover on the map, those houses, the bridges, and the stuff that are nearby. But Vato not going to be happy about that. Was trying to get a little bit of a third-party tag there, and Wolfie's punishing him right before he goes down. He says, hey, if I'm going down, you're coming down with me, and will also deny a key elimination point that could have gone over to Ardit. So ultimately, but at least he was able to pick up a little bit. Is now back on board here with Flois, and as we can see, he's used to fast starts, placing first with 5 elims in game 1 of Heats as well. So let's see if he can turn this confidence into something more, as he is over on the northeast side of the zone with plenty of players around him. However, he has priority on the rotation, but not a ton of materials to really do it. You don't want to be forced to burn those metal and the brick here. We refer to those as the hard materials, because once they get built up, they provide that much more defense for you. However, just they're so much harder to get naturally as you move through the map that Flo is finding Cammy there, and you can see immediately he's going to head over there because he's like, hey, I need those mats. I need those refreshers. When we talk about refresher in the term, this is it, because that's going to be refreshing for him.
What a shot and a heads-up play by Flois. He desperately needed that, as well as his ammo was pretty low, too. Only 74 AR. That's not enough going into an in-game competitive Fortnite game. You definitely want to have a little bit more like Noah Riley here. Again, takes off Mr. Savage and now has the loot to show for it. The yacht coming in clutch with this loot. He's got this player down, though, with those tags. But the big shield going to be popped there. Now Noah has to be careful. He wants to go aggressive. His instinct is to push in with that crash pad and get the aggressive play. But that player back up to full HP. He's got to be careful. Shots go through the edit. Not going to connect on the shots there. Noah over the top. Shots come through. A 71 tag there for Noah. And now he's going in. Crash pad in. It doesn't matter, though. The crash pad is actually going to send him away. He's got to keep the pressure up to keep this player from popping any shields. And he's got the player back and forth, up and down, up and down. He's got the crash pad. And he's going in. Shots are going to come through. The player puts the stare over the top of his head. And another good tag there. But Noah's not able to find him. Noah's not able to finish him off. This player continuously layer changing, going up and down in between the builds. And Hydro was just trying to run for their life.
Hydro trying to put as much distance as possible, and unfortunately going to go down there. Good job for Noah Riley on the chase. We talk about how important it is to resolve fights, particularly because you don't want that opponent burning those resources, because when you do take them down, they'll drop them there, and you want to get as much as possible. You can see Noah picking up all of the minis there. He's back up to 6. Good job, still has 4 crash pads. And one thing you'll note in particular when you're looking at these mid-game fights and what you should be keeping an eye on. Anytime a player has crash pads, that will enable them to push into boxes. You've seen it in 2 different ways, both from the top down, where they throw it against one of those cones because it lets them fall in. And then a perfect example, thank you, Ross Orange, for showing it right there, winning the fight against Hardfind very closely with 6 HP. That's the horizontal crash pad, where you line yourself up on the corner of the walls, you throw it against that corner, and it'll end up landing right behind you, and it pushes you forward into the box, but it won't affect the other player. So it allows you to line up your shot ahead of time, and most times it'll also put you behind them, so they're not able to play defensively, as Orange trying to play defensively here, but Bafo just comes in and says, hey, you didn't have enough time to reset and get your shields up. I will take all that loot. Thank you very much.
And that's the dangers of taking a mid-game fight, is going to get third party. Players are going to recognize that shield crack sound, and they're going to move in. He took that fight, got out, and now is on the move. But Carrot is setting up an ambush for the shots coming through. Ledwick has been cracked. Look at the box separation that he just did there from Carrot. Get a time to pass him, and he's the stair with the top is not his. He does get a nice layer change coming out and above, but he doesn't have enough time to pop the big shield. He's just looking to try to pop another mini, and he does get it off. And now he's looking for a shot. He needs to put the pressure back onto Carrot, because if not, then he's just going to keep running around, and Carrot's finally going to be able to get a shot on him. And Carrot decides, you know what? Not worth my time, not worth my materials, not worth my HP. I'm going to disengage.
I'm 50-50 on that. It felt like if Carrot had kind of kept pressing, he might have been able to pick up Letwick, particularly because, look at Letwick there, only 20 total builds coming out, but that also means if you are able to take him down, you're not going to necessarily get that much back. You'd only get the 35 total, and it's really not going to be that beneficial unless you're able to rotate cleanly off of it. Both have the crash pads, but now you can see fight going on here between Diablo and NXS Z-Andy. Z-Andy on the back foot here, and Diablo trying to push forward somebody we've seen had the capability of playing aggressively. He is above that Storm Surge threshold, so just trying to hunt this player and doing a good job of keeping Z-Andy on the back foot. Does get the cone replaced, owns both, edits back under. Z-Andy able to replace that stay there, so Diablo just going to reset for a second, make sure he's still back up at near that 100-100 threshold, and then Z-Andy going to go down. So good job making sure he picked that one up. Z-Andy was below that Storm Surge threshold. Diablo will see that coming through. The Storm Surge will take that over. So that's what we talk about right now. You can see on the right-hand side, Diablo is currently 130 damage above. Z-Andy was below, which means he takes that 25 damage every 10 seconds. And it also signals to Diablo, hey, I can just tag this guy up and then wait, because any damage he does to that player, as long as they go down within a minute, he will still get credit for that elimination. He will still get the point. Then he can go over and safely pick up that loot.
That is another aspect of competitive Fortnite that everyone has to think about. That Storm Surge, it plays a factor into so many of these players' games. Sometimes they forget about it because they're pumping, they're rolling. And then they're like, wait, I didn't tag anybody this game. I got to look for tags. Frenzy Fishy on the other side, above, and a good amount above. If you're about 100 to 150 above, take advantage and find swaps with one AR shot. That is what you needed. We saw Thomas HD do that in the first game. Just find any sort of elimination that you can, far away or up close. Don't even have to risk yourself getting tagged up for it. Beautiful elimination.
Yeah, but you notice how he's doing that behind a cone and editing a single wall. That's to avoid all of those hunting rifle headshots that we've seen come out time and time again. You don't want to get a game ender looking for some of those tags to make sure you're safe. But that being said, when we talk about tags and going through, that's generally meaning you're looking for long-range shots, not with the intention of actually trying to eliminate the opponent, but just doing some damage so you're not threatened by the Storm Surge, as Flois ends Froggy and puts a prime example of why you need a cone in a window and to limit the number of angles you have, because so many of these top-level players will be carrying those weapons, particularly in EU, that is known for their snipes and hitting their shots. Well done from the game #1 winner, who's continuing to roll with the momentum here. Boxed up next to Arctic, passive over the side, as we're transitioning now into that mid-game kind of territory as players are starting to get closer and looking for priority in terms of zone number 4.
What an elimination. He needed it too. He only had 2 hunting rifle shots. That first shot needed to hit. He didn't really have a chance to follow up if it didn't. Very heads-up play by Flois. First place, taking down second place. That is, hey, that's pretty good for your mentality. Even if he goes down here and be like, hey, I took out my competition, so I know I'm pretty secure there. But we're still pretty early on into the games, so you can't really do much with it.
And it's important to note when they stress during the top of show how every single interaction matters. Right there, Flois eliminating his direct competition right now, the player who is closest to him, who's able to pressure up. That means if he's able to build up a lead now, it's going to be that much more substantial, because effectively he's eliminated one of the players who can threaten him the most, as now we're on board here with ADN. We saw him have an amazing run yesterday, pushing in. Right there, you can see the Dorito edit being taken down, and that's such a good push. Strokey was looking to set up a crash pad there with that edited cone in his box, but ADN dropped in and then occupied the space, stuck to the AR, and then just used the weapon to close it out. Well done getting a key pick there in a mid-circle.
and he desperately needed his match. Were not looking good. Still are not looking good as well. So he's going to have to find another impact elimination along the way. As we're on board here with Ardent. Again, mats are not looking good. Now, there is a player's loot there in front of him that he more likely got the elim from. He's not actually prioritizing picking it up right now. It seems like he's just looking to build and then go for the loot. Mr. X is nearby. Banshee's nearby as well. Hardest in an awkward spot. We've got Scram in this game here as well. Handy, passive, slick. A lot of players still alive. 61. When we talk about Storm Surge, this is a threshold where it's 50. 11 players need to go down. Darda makes a heads-up play to get a box. And Crash going to come through, but that's bad for him. Unless he hits the shot. Shots come through, and he does. Maestro going to go down the aggressive play. He rewarded for his passiveness.
Yeah, and you can see the reason why so many players are fighting right now, both that Storm Surge and trying to get priority. We talk about fourth zone. Look in the bottom right.